All right, today we are diving into one of the most intense and maybe one of the most misunderstood stories of faith in the entire Bible, Abraham's ultimate test from Genesis 22. It's a story that really pushes us to think about trust, obedience, and what it truly means to surrender everything. Let's get into it.
So let me just start by asking you this. What do you think is the ultimate test of faith? Is it going through some really tough times? Is it waiting, maybe for years, for a promise to come true? Or is it being asked to give up the one thing, the one person you love most in the world? For Abraham, it was about to be all of that rolled into one.
You know, the story doesn't start in a place of desperation. It actually starts right after this moment of incredible joy. Abraham, 100 years old, finally has Isaac, the son he and Sarah were promised, the son they waited 25 long years for. I mean, life is good. Everything seems perfect. And then God speaks.
Now, to really get what's about to happen, you have to understand the context here. This isn't just any son. Isaac was a flat-out miracle. He was the living, breathing proof of a divine promise that had literally shaped most of Abraham's adult life. He was the future. And that's what makes the command that comes next so absolutely staggering.
Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Every single phrase there just layers on the emotional weight of this command. And here's a wild fact. This is the very first time the word love even shows up in the Bible. And it's used to describe a father's deep, profound affection for his son, the exact son he's now being told to sacrifice.
So, how do you even respond to something like that? I mean, what do you do? Well, Abraham's response is, in its own way, just as shocking as the test itself.
And here's the thing that just blows my mind. There's no arguing. There's no pleading. Like, God, isn't there another way? No stalling for time. The Bible says he just rose early in the morning. This isn't the act of a man with shaky faith. This is someone whose trust has been forged over decades. He might not have understood the why, but he absolutely trusted the who.
And get this wasn't some quick, impulsive trip. We're talking about a 3-day journey. Can you even imagine the mental and emotional agony of those 3 days? Every single step, for 3 days, brought him closer to this unthinkable act. That kind of journey requires a level of resolve and a deep, settled trust that is just on another level.
And right here, we get a little window into his heart and to his incredible faith. Listen to his words. We will come back to you. Not I, but we. Plural. You know, we find out later in the book of Hebrews that Abraham had reasoned that God was powerful enough to raise Isaac from the dead if he had to. He was so sure of God's promise that he believed, somehow, they would both be coming back down that mountain.
And as they're climbing the mountain, this is where the story just gets gut-wrenching. Isaac, who is literally carrying the wood for his own sacrifice, turns to his dad with this innocent, logical, but absolutely piercing question. The fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?
Wow, Abraham's reply is just incredible. God himself will provide the lamb. This statement was at the same time this deep expression of personal trust and, as we're about to find out, a literal prophecy of what was about to happen. He was speaking his faith out loud.
And so they get there. They arrive at the spot God had shown them on Mount Moriah, a place that tradition says would one day become the site of the great temple in Jerusalem. And it's here that this whole test reaches its breathtaking climax. Look at how deliberate these actions are. Step by step, he builds the altar, he arranges the wood, then he binds his son. Now, it's really important to remember, most scholars believe Isaac wasn't a little kid. He was probably a young man, strong enough to have easily overpowered his very old father. Isaac's willing submission here is a huge part of the story. And then, Abraham reaches for the knife. And at that final moment, I mean the absolute last possible second, with his obedience proven complete, the unbearable tension just snaps. A sudden, dramatic, divine intervention changes everything.
An angel of the Lord calls out, stopping him. And this is the whole point of the story right here. The test was never about God wanting a human sacrifice. He strictly forbids that everywhere else. It was about revealing Abraham's heart. It was about showing that Abraham trusted God more than anything, even more than the promised son he loved so dearly. And in this moment of overwhelming relief and gratitude, Abraham names that very spot Jehovah Jireh. It means the Lord will provide. He
He literally names the place after the lesson he just lived, cementing this truth for every generation to come.
And sure enough, God provides. Abraham looks up, and there it is, a ram caught in a thicket. This ram becomes the offering in place of his son. And this idea of substitution, one taking the place of another, is such a powerful theme that echoes throughout the rest of the biblical story.
Because of this incredible, proven faith, God doesn't just give Isaac back. He unleashes this powerful reaffirmation of his covenant promise. He basically says, "Because you have done this, I will bless you beyond measure, and through your family the whole world will be blessed."
Okay, so that is an ancient, intense, and incredible story. But what does it have to do with us, right here, right now? How does this account of extreme faith actually speak into our lives today? Let's break down the key lessons.
This story gives us such a powerful framework for our own journey of faith. It teaches us first that God's tests aren't meant to crush us, they're designed to perfect our faith. Second, a faith that's never been tested is, well, it's kind of hard to fully trust. It also shows us that real faith acts, it moves, even when it doesn't have all the answers. And maybe most importantly, worship isn't just singing songs. Sometimes it's surrendering what's most precious to us. And God's provision? It so often shows up at that very moment of complete surrender and not 1 second before.
And that leads us to the one big question I want to leave you with. For Abraham, it was his promised son, Isaac. For you and me, it might be our career, our relationship, our finances, or the plans we've so carefully laid out for our lives. So what's the Isaac in your life? What might you need to place on the altar and trust to really and truly see God's provision and His plan unfold? It's a tough question for sure, but it gets right to the heart of what it means to live a life of faith.